Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. This is Nikhil Parekh. In this video, I shall be giving you a recitation of my poem that is titled The Religion of Mankind. This poem of mine has been published in my book that is titled Love vs. Terrorism Volume 2. Therefore, without wasting a further instant, ardently wanted to commence upon the recitation of my poem, The Religion of Mankind. The most tenacious of threads protruding from the scalp, ludicrously dithered and deteriorated with advancing age, that insidiously camouflaged them with coffins of dilapidated white. But the threads of humanity were immortally timeless, unassailably augmenting from strength to strength, swirling as the most scintillating wave of benign togetherness as each second crept by, as each second crept by. The most stupendously grandiloquent of fortresses succumbed like a pack of capriciously elastic cards, as bombs of treachery rained torrentially from the sky. But the fortress of humanity, but the fortress of humanity was immortally impregnable, unflinchingly defending the entire tornado of devils, bare-chested, with each of its brick entwined in the melodiously magical color of philanthropic mankind. The most vivacious of fruits extruding marvelously from ravishing soil. The most vivacious of fruits extruding marvelously from ravishing soil, acrimoniously extinguished into winds of obsoletely horrendous oblivion. At the very first spell of salacious drought, but the fruits of humanity were immortally bountiful. Perennially flowering and spawning into a civilization of miraculously bequeathing symbiosis. Even as the most fathomless of horizons blended with impoverished earth. The most scintillating of swords, the most scintillating of swords inexplicably lost their way, the most scintillating of swords inexplicably lost their way as the blanket of gruesome darkness took an ominous stranglehold over the brilliantly aristocratic day. But the sword of humanity, but the sword of humanity but the sword of humanity, was immortally patriotic, indefatigably decimating even the most infinitesimal trace of evil forever from the morbidly remorseful atmosphere, compassionately sequestering all innocent, in its humanitarian island of ubiquitous belonging. The most boundless of gloriously undulating oceans, vindictively dried, as manipulative humans devised perniciously abominable contraptions to adulterate them all night and sweltering day. But the ocean of humanity, was immortally resplendent, perpetually pacifying the thirst of all those in barbaric devastation, omnisciently appeasing even the most remotely frazzled nerve with the tonic of unconquerable righteousness, the most sagaciously sacrosanct of religion, on this planet found itself engulfed by dungeons of horrific bloodshed, rudimentary fanatics, diabolically massacred it with a graveyard of stinking politics, and gory corruption. But the religion of humanity, but the religion of humanity, but the religion of humanity, but the religion of humanity was immortally unshakable, enchantingly melanging every humble molecule of Almighty Lord in entrenchments of unsurpassable solidarity and alike. Enchantingly melanging every humble molecule of Almighty Lord in entrenchments, Almighty Lord in entrenchments of unsurpassable solidarity and alike. The most dazzlingly dynamic of colors wore away into sinister whirlpools of dust as the blistering sun insatiably flamed for times immemorial, as the blistering sun insatiably flamed for times immemorial upon the murderously cracked soil. But the color of humanity was immortally celestial, growing more and more astoundingly passionate as the seconds rampantly zipped by merging all religion, caste, and spurious color into the divine river of unitedly priceless and godly existence, godly existence, godly existence. The most vibrantly thunderous of voices shrunk to a pathetically mollified mellow as tyrannically torturous fireballs of lightning pelted unforgivingly from the colossal firmament of sky. But the voice of humanity was immortally blazing, perpetuating countless rays of spellbinding hope in all those dwellings besieged with orphaned loneliness and infirmed destitute, eventually evolving as the most irrefutably supreme sound of all mankind, the most flamboyantly fiery of breaths, mockingly evaporated into devilishly hideous spaces. The most flamboyantly fiery of breaths, of breaths, mockingly evaporated into devilishly hideous spaces of the ghastly corpse. When destiny and the cloudbursts of death whippingly proclaimed that it was time up, but the breath of humanity, was immortally living, incredulously proliferating new lives, new lives of optimistically endowing hope as the minutes unfurled, unrelentingly pioneering a blissful waterfall of mesmerizing tomorrows with winds of sensuous sharing and empathy. And the most tumultuously throbbing hearts wholesomely relinquished every iota of their beats as the streams of blood intractably refrained to enter them due to crippling cholesterol and true swollen tension. And the most tumultuously throbbing hearts wholesomely relinquished every iota of their beats as the streams of blood intractably refrained to enter them due to crippling cholesterol and true soul and tension. But the heart of humanity was immortally loving, eternally entwining every dejectedly wavering soul in an unfathomable cosmos of exuberantly ecstatic beauty. In an unfathomable cosmos of exuberantly ecstatic beauty and contentment, making every innocuous organism on this universe feel as the richest alive, making every innocuous organism on this universe feel as the richest alive, and forever embracing the religion of mankind, and forever embracing the religion of mankind. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for hearing me. from the innermost layer of the heart, wanted to thank you for the victoriously exuberant patronization to the poetry